Hey, it's good to see you. Hello, and welcome to this little video. Tonight, we will be doing a book haul. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books for you tonight. One is essays, kind of memoirish. 2 are essays, kind of memoirish. I don't know, I haven't read them yet, but like nonfiction, theory, memoir. And 2 are fiction. Specifically literary fiction. I have my Dark Side t-shirt on today. Getting my hair cut soon. And I have on these very large pearl earrings. So let's get into it. The books are on the table, the same table as my desktop tripod, and they're quite heavy. So you may move slightly. I'm going to try to limit it, but you may move slightly as I pick them up. Okay, the first book is How to Write an Autobiographical Novel by Alexander G. By Alexander G. I don't know if you can hear that cat outside. So, in truth, I actually have already read this one, but for the purposes of this video, I'm going to pretend that I haven't, insofar as I'm not going to comment on my reading experience, although I will cover that shortly. I just was feeling like a light-ish read. The subject matter in this is not necessarily always light, but essays are just these nice bite-sized chunks of reading, I find. So I was really feeling that a few weeks ago, and I just dove into this one and finished it pretty quickly. So there are some essays in here about being a gay man. There are some essays in here about being a writer and an artist. There is one essay in here about tarot. You know how I feel about tarot. And a few other things. So that's what you can expect. And I'll read you the inside flap. As a novelist, Alexander Chee has been described as masterful by Roxane Gay, incendiary by the New York Times, and brilliant by the Washington Post. With How to Write an Autobiographical Novel, his first collection of nonfiction, Chee is sure to secure his place as one of the finest essayists of his generation as well. How to Write an Autobiographical Novel is the author's manifesto on the entangling of life, literature, and politics. In these essays, he grows from student to teacher, from reader to writer, and reckons with his identities as a son, a gay man, a Korean American, an artist, an activist, a lover, and a friend. He examines some of the most formative experiences of his life and the nation's history, including his father's death, the AIDS crisis, the jobs that supported him as he wrote his debut novel, Edinburgh, which ranged from tarot reading to book selling to cater waitering, and the election of our current president. By turns commanding, heartbreaking, and wry, How to Write an Autobiographical Novel asks questions about how we create ourselves in life and in art, and how to fight when our dearest truths are under attack. So I had recently read his debut novel it's from a while ago, but but I had just read it last fall. It's called Edinburgh. And then I saw this book on Quiet Guy's channel, and she mentioned that it had an essay about tarot in it, and I was like, say no more, eyes are wide open. It's at the top of my to buy list now. So I picked it up early this year and then read it pretty quickly, like I said. Sometimes you just want a good essay collection. So that's the first book. Okay. The second one, the rest of these I have not read, have not even stretched the spines of. So this one, I actually don't know for sure how you say her last name, but this book is called Funny Weather. Art in an Emergency. He's like, by Olivia Lang. Let me know if you know. I'm sure right after I film this I'll also look it up. But yep, and then we got a little blurb. Moving right on by to read the back. In this remarkable, inspiring collection of essays, acclaimed writer and critic Olivia Lang makes a brilliant case for why art matters, especially in the turbulent political weather of the 21st century. She profiles Jean-Michel Basquiat and Georgia O'Keeffe, reads Maggie Nelson and Sally Rooney, writes love letters to David Bowie and Freddie Mercury, and explores loneliness and technology, women and alcohol, sex and the body. With Lang's characteristic originality and compassion, Funny Weather celebrates art as a force of resistance and repair. It's funny, I had some idea of what this book was about, based on this mostly, but I actually had not read the back and seen this list of names like Georgia and Jean-Michel and Maggie and David and Freddie. Oh my, I am even more excited about this book. This came out a while ago, I want to say, so if you've read it, I would be really curious to hear what you thought. Let's see when it came out. 2020. Oh, I would have guessed like 2019. 2020. And how beautiful is this and funny as an object. But this photo in particular is like stunning. I love it. So that's the second one. And then the third book. You know, it's funny. I also don't know how to say the last name of this writer because it's the same writer. So, I'm kind of cheating here. This is actually my partner's book. Like, he bought it, he picked it out, and he's in the middle of reading it. In fact, he's right there. But I'm going to read it too. And when he picked it up, you know, when you're kind of carrying a few books but you're not sure which ones you're going to buy, it was kind of this thing where I was like, are you going to buy it though? Because if you don't actually buy it, like, I'm going to buy it. But then he bought it. And I really think my sister would like it too. But what the frick is it about? Let me tell you. It is called, again, beautiful cover, The Garden Against Time by Olivia Lang, question mark, Lang. author of The Lonely City, which is actually one of hers I have not heard of. I'm new to her, okay? Blurbs. Moving right along. Also, I like this. It says, in search of a common paradise. And inside it says, oh my god, it's so pretty. In 2020, Olivia Lang began to restore an 18th century walled garden and overgrown Eden of unusual plants. The work brought to light a crucial question for our age. Who gets to live in paradise, and how can we share it while there's still time? Moving between real and imagined gardens, from Milton's Paradise Lost to Jean Claire's Enclosure Elegies, from a wartime sanctuary in Italy to a grotesque aristocratic pleasure ground funded by slavery, Lang interrogates the sometimes shocking cost of making paradise on Earth. But the story of the garden doesn't always enact larger patterns of privilege and exclusion. It's also a place of rebel outposts and communal dreams. From the improbable queer utopia conjured by Derek Jarman on the beach to the fertile vision of a common Eden propagated by William Morris, new modes of living can and have been attempted. I said that weirdly. New modes of living can and have been attempted amidst the flower beds, experiments that could prove vital in the coming era of climate change. The result is a humming, glowing tapestry, a beautiful and exacting account of the abundant pleasures and possibilities of gardens, not as a place to hide from the world, but as a site of encounter and discovery. Be loud and pollen laden. So, my partner's really liking it so far, and my sister's a big gardener, so I'm gonna pass this on her way. First, my partner will read it, then I will read it, and then my sister can have it. So, that's the third book. And that's the last we have tonight of Olivia, okay? And then the fourth book is called Liars. By Sarah Manguso, author of Very Cold People. And what is that, a blurb? Yeah, whatever. Although, you put this like 2 thumbs up. But, that's not why I bought it. I have Very Cold People on this bookshelf, in fact. If you watch my bookshelf tour, you would have seen it. But, I read it. I really liked it. I thought it was very good. Not necessarily great, but very good. I really enjoyed it. It's like a book where if anyone were staying in my home and wanted a good book to read, I would 100% take it off the shelf and have them read it. Pretty much anyone. But in terms of like recommending it and like having people spend their money on it, I think it is worth the money, but it's just like the pacing is really particular and the end is really particular, and so I haven't been recommending it as much as I liked it, even though I really liked it. It's very good, and I clearly liked it enough to get this beauty. So blurb, blurb, blurb. Blurbity, blurb, 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 blurb. Okay, a searing novel about being a wife, a mother, and an artist, and how marriage makes liars of us all. So, when Jane, an aspiring writer, meets filmmaker John Bridges, they both want the same things: to be in love, to live a successful creative life, and to be happy. That sounds nice. When they marry, Jane believes she has found everything she was looking for, including, a few years later, all the attendant joys and labors of motherhood. But it's not long until Jane finds herself subsumed by John's ambitions, whims, and ego. In short, she becomes a wife. Ambitions, whims, and ego is like a nightmare to me. As Jane's career flourishes, their marriage starts to falter. Throughout the upheavals of family life, Jane tries to hold it all together. That is, until John leaves her. Liars is a tour de force of wit and rage, telling the blistering story of a marriage as it burns to the ground, and of a woman rising inexorably from its ashes. Sounds like a banger. It sounds like a banger. So, it sounds right up her alley based on how Very Cold People went down, and I'm really excited. So, that was the 4th book, and then finally the 5th book. I think the camera didn't move much, but if it did, I'm sorry. This one is really heavy. Like, look at this. That is heavy. So, this would be Hidden Faces. This would be Lies and Sorcery by Elsa Morante. Translated by Jenny McPhee. Jenny McPhee. Yeah, it's quite large. It is like 760 some pages. And it is from the New York Review of Books, which, if you've been here, you know I'm a big fan. Big fan of them. Big fan of fiction and translation. Like a big fan. So I'm really looking forward to this one. But honestly, given its size and its theme, I don't think I'll crack it until fall. Maybe it just feels like a fall kind of undertaking to me. I had heard of it before, but it's actually one of you who recommended it in the comments that had me taking a second look. And I think that was a while ago, but I really do put stuff on my to buy list and like my to watch list. It's just a matter of like if it ever rises to the top 5, because only then is it one that I actually buy. So sometimes it takes a while for a recommendation to rise to the top until I'm like actually getting it. But anyway, you want to know what it's about. Let me tell you. Okay. Elsa Morante is one of the titans of 20th century literature. I did not read the back of this. Natalia Ginsburg said she was the writer of her own generation that she most admired. And yet her work remains little known in the United States. Written during World War II, Morante's celebrated first novel, Lies and Sorcery, is in the grand tradition of Stendhal, Tolstoy, and Proust, spanning the lives of 3 generations of wildly eccentric women. Awesome. The story is set in Sicily and told by Elisa, orphaned young and raised by a fallen woman. For years, Elisa has lived in an imaginary world of her own. Now, however, her guardian has died, and the young woman feels she must abandon her fantasy life to confront the truth of her family's tortured and dramatic history. Elisa is a seductive, if less than reliable, spinner of stories, and the reader is drawn into tales of secrets, intrigue, and treachery, which, as it proceeds, is increasingly revealed to be an exploration of a legacy of political and social injustice. I mean, that sounds mad good. flipping through, something in the introduction said something about witches, something about poems. I'm into it. Part 1 is called The Northern Air. Part 2, Cousinhood. Part 3, The Unnamed. Part 4, The Pockface. Part 5, Winter. Part 6, The Main Trail. And then there's an epilogue. So yeah, I really do imagine needing to wait until fall to really get into this one, but I have it on my shelf and I may feel like cracking it open earlier. We'll just have to see. So that is the fifth book. Okay, gently put it down. It's so heavy. I could do my arm workout with this book. Little curls with this book. Would love to hear what you're reading or what's on your TBR. Always interested. And I'm thrilled with my purchases. Cannot wait to dig in. I hope you are doing super well. And if you're not, that is okay too. I will talk to you very soon.